Welcome to Tuesdays with Terry. Today I want to talk about accessing the flow state for more productivity. So you might have heard of the flow state before, but basically it's when you're in the zone. You are fully immersed in what you're doing. You lose track of time. And what happens is your prefrontal cortex gets shut off, and that's what kind of keeps track of time. And you just get totally lost in the enjoyment of the activity that you're doing. So think about what activities get you to that flow state. So what happens is when you're in that flow state, you're producing 5 times more efficient, better results than if you were not in the flow state. So imagine it's like working one day out of the week. If like your whole work week, say you have a 5-day work week, you're not in flow state, you'd be better off if you just had one day of being in the flow. So I did some research on this because I just find it really fascinating on productivity, how to be more efficient, creating better habits. So what I did was kind of look up a couple TED Talks, some just information on flow. And what the experts say is basically ways to get in flow. So the first thing you want to do is like shut off distractions. When you're really in flow, you're probably not going to let all these distractions get to you so much. But yeah, silence your phone, put it away, turn it off. Get into surroundings that you're not going to be distracted very much. And then doing work that you love. So some of the TED Talks I watched, one of them was this lady, Diane, what's her name? Diane Ellen. And so she did the violin. Beautiful, beautiful violin. And so that was her flow state. She was in the zone. When she was in she could just get lost. She didn't even know where she was. She was just one with the music. That was her flow state. And what she talks about, so it was a TED Talks, what she talks about is how to access that flow state when you're not actually doing that activity that you just totally love doing. So some examples that she gave were, so one of the people that she had worked with, his flow state was like speed bike riding, like mountain bike riding with the team. And so that was like where he was in the most flow because he was having a lot of trouble public speaking. So he was like needing help becoming more effective and productive. So what she did with him was she wanted him to figure out the feelings of why he felt so productive in the state of being on a team doing his mountain bike racing. And so what he had said was that he loves being supporting the team. He loves feeling like a supportive member of the team that just lights him up to be on part of a team, helping out the team in the race. So what she did is she had him embrace that feeling of supporting the team and bringing that into his public speaking. So instead of reframing it, the public speaking where it's like, oh my gosh, they're looking at me, I hate speaking in front of people, but using that flow state where it really lights you up. And so you are supporting, so for him, you're supporting the team, like you are becoming a dynamic member of the team reaching the goal. So then he used that way of him getting into flow state in other areas of his life. So you can get into flow state when you're not always doing things that you're so in love with. All right, so one of the ways that I love to get in the flow state is I love to dance. I'd love to hear what you guys do to get in the flow state. So I've always been a dancer, did gymnastics. I was dancing in middle school, high school, college. I just loved it. And for me, so it's not even the act. So that was the whole thing with this guy who does the mountain bike riding. It's not so much the act. I mean, the act, that tells a lot about, what you love to do. But it's how do you access that flow state when you're not actually doing that act. So for me, what do I love so much about dancing? So that's my flow activity. But what do I love so much about it? So I think for me, I get to express myself. I feel like that's where I really get to let my light shine. I get to feel creative. I get to feel one with the music. So that's kind of where, I feel in flow, and that's what I love to do. That's what lights me up. And so I can bring that to my other endeavors where, I'm realizing like, oh, this is whatever I'm doing. So, this is showing my individualized expression of creativity. And so whatever I'm doing, I can, move my hands. I can, just use that to kind of get in flow, be rhythmic in my talking, in my speaking. So basically understanding what your flow state is and then using it to be productive in different areas. So if you don't know what a flow state is, so there's actually a lot of different people that talk about it in different ways. So Abraham Hicks talks about going with the flow, and that's basically not having any like downstream thoughts or upstream thoughts. And so if you guys know Abraham Hicks, let me know. I absolutely am an Abraham Hicks fan. Love the book Ask and It Is Given and just all the videos on YouTube. So going with the flow, just be in flow. That's when you're at your most productive, you're at your most happiest place. And so you always want to access this flow state at all times because you're more productive. It's just the best thing you could possibly do. So this was actually a positive psychology term. I didn't really realize that. And I've loved positive psychology. One of my coaches, Nick Pigeon, she has this Unstoppable Success Accelerator online, and she's a positive psychologist. If I would have known about it, I went to UC Riverside for undergrad. I didn't know anything. I didn't even know positive psychology existed. Like when I heard that there's people that were happiness coaches and there's a whole happiness summit, I was like, what? Like, I just thought it was so fascinating because I never heard anything like that. But yeah, so this is actually a positive psychology term, and people have studied the flow state. So like I was saying, like, yeah, so really when you're in this flow state, it shuts off your prefrontal cortex and you just lose track of all time, identity, self. You are just in the zone, one with what you're doing. So that's how you can become more productive doing what you're doing, by getting in this flow state. So yeah, I'd love to hear what gets you guys in a flow state. And yeah, that's about it. So I haven't been on Tuesdays with Terri in a while, so I just wanted to get on and talk about something that was interesting to me. If you guys have any other topics that are interesting to you that you'd like to dive into. Some of the things I've been getting into recently, I'm going to be speaking at the Wildflower Summit, so that's pretty exciting. And the theme is embracing miracles and magic in your life. So I've been teaching a course in miracles at Unity Spiritual Center in San Francisco, and it's one of my biggest joys because I've always been on a quest for knowledge and truth. Like when I was younger, I was like, what is the point of all this? Like, why are we here? And so, because there's like traumatic moments with getting bullied, like people I love dying. I just didn't see the point of all this. And so now this Course in Miracles has given me such a good foundation of truth, understanding, what our function is here on earth, that we are wholly loved and forgiven and just completely adored by our Creator, God, Source Energy, Universe, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, so that's been one of my biggest joys. So I'll probably start talking a little bit more about spirituality and truth as I've experienced it and studied on it. If that's a topic you're interested in, I would love to talk to you about it and just do more lives about it. So that's it. So that was a little discussion on flow. Love to know what gets you in the flow. So being in the flow is so important. And one of the ways you can continue to be in flow is so doing those tasks that you love to do. But then there's always like an underlining like meaning behind everything, right? And so and our brains are wired so like it's just so fascinating how our brains are wired. And then Dr. Joe Dispenza, so he has that saying that says neurons that fire together wire together. So you can rewrite habits. You can rewrite your habits. You can reprogram your brain, change your whole paradigm and habitual way of being and acting. So this stuff is so fascinating to me. So I'm going to be talking more about it on more lives. So I do love getting live and I love interacting with you guys. So if there's any questions, any stories you want to share with me, I'd love to hear them. All right, well, have a wonderful day and I'll talk to you soon. Take care.